Hello guys, welcome back to Game Development Tutorials. We are back with the Meteors game. Today, we are going to finally delete this cat and actually start on the game. Okay, so first thing we want to do, we want to create a new sprite. I'm drinking a smoothie over here. So what you want to do in order to create a new sprite is to hover over this icon and select paint. Then let's just rename the sprite to player. And for now, this is just like a starter image. Let's just make him like a white spaceship or something like this. Isn't that? I don't really know. Okay, and maybe like a couple of these. Yet again, this is just like a folder image. It doesn't actually. This is not going to actually be in the final game. Okay, so let's also select the background. And then we want to press this blue button at the bottom. And the blue button says convert to bitmap. So we just want to click that. And then click on this pixelated paint tool. Then we want to select the color. So just click on this down arrow next to fill. And then drag this circle so the brightness is 0. And then click in this box and it will turn black. We also want to center the player, so set it to 0, 0. Let's also set the size to 30. Just like that. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so in this video we will be doing player movement. So this is kind of tricky at first, but then as you go on, it starts to make sense. Okay, so to start the program, let's do when green flag clicked. Then the standard procedure, it will show set size to this time 30, because that's the size that I want it to be at. And then starting up position will be X 0, Y negative 136. And then just to be sure, we each want to switch to costume to player 1, to costume 1. And then I'm gonna go back into the costume tabs, and instead of calling it costume 1, I'm just gonna call it player. Okay, so that is how we set it up. This time we will do one extra thing, and this is just for an effect, but the effect is pretty cool. We want to drag this, go forward one layers, and click on the little box that says forward, and a drop down will appear. We just want to click backwards. Instead of 1 layer, it will be 25 layers. Just like that. And then, to make the game run forever instead of just stopping right as we press play, we want to say forever. Then here is where the controls come in. So our controls are A and D, or the right and left arrows. So we can say if key right arrows pressing. But here's the thing. How do we get it to be right or the D key? Well, we can do that if we go into this green tab called Operators and drag out this OR block. So we can just put the right arrow key in one of the sections. And then, by the way, in order to duplicate a block, you just right click on it and select duplicate. Then let's drag that in the other slot and say D. So now it will say if key right arrow or key D is pressed, then we want to do something. And that something that we want to do is we want to move it to the right. So we have to change the X value because the X is left and right. So we want to change it to a positive value, because I'll be right. So we want to go to the motion tab, the blue tab, the darker blue tab, and we just want to drag in change x by 6, just like that. Okay, so now when we click the green flag, it will snap to the bottom of the screen. And now if we do the right arrow or the D key, it should go right. There we go. But it won't stop because, well, he will stop, but we cannot go left. So now, if we just right click on the if, then hit duplicate, this whole block will duplicate. We can drag it into the forever loop. And instead of saying if the left arrow key is pressed, instead of the right arrow key being pressed, we can say if left arrow key pressed or the A key is pressed, then it will change x by -6. Okay, so now when we go into max screen and press play, we can now move to the left and the right. And by the way, guys, feel free to pause the video at any moment so you can catch up. Because this is a bit much to take in for part 2, but it'll make sense, so don't worry. It will start to make sense. Okay. So, now, we want to make player shooting. So this kind of gets a little tricky, but it makes sense. Okay. So let's just start off by making a new sprite. And let's just call this sprite bullet 01, because it will shoot two bullets at a time, one from either side of these little things. Okay, so let's just make the bullets red. Select the rectangle tool and just drag, then let go when we're happy with the shape. Okay, just like that. Okay, so yet again, let's set the size to 30 and scale this until it looks good. I think that looks good for mine. Okay, let's also center this. It's kind of it just starts to become a habit after a while. So yeah. So now we can do when clicked, and this might surprise you. We want to do when clicked, this will hide. And the reason for that is every time we are gonna click or press space, it's gonna make a duplicate of the bullet. So, in order to tell what in order to tell what the duplicate does, it is called a clone in Scratch. We just want to say when I start as clone, it will show. Okay, so let's just start off with that, okay? So now we actually have to create a clone of this bullet. So what we want to do, we don't want to clone it directly from itself. We want to clone it from the player. So let's go back to the player sprite, and let's do another forever loop. So let's do when clicked, forever, when green flag click forever. And in order to get a mouse input or mouse down, we just want to say if, and we want to do space or mouse down, so we have to drag in or block. Then to detect if the mouse is down, we just want to go to the light blue tab, the sensing tab, and we just want to drag in this mouse down block. We also want to drag in or if the space key is pressed, then it will create clone of bullet 1. we also want it to wait for around 0.35 seconds. That's basically the fire rate of it. So now, when we press play, whenever we hit space, another one will spawn. Of course, we can't really see it because they're being stacked on top of each other. So yeah, now I want the bullets to go to the player and move forward. So let's do that. Okay, so what we want to do, since we want the bullet to appear behind the player, we just want to tell the bullet to go backwards 25 layers, so now it will appear behind the player. And now we can say go to player, but the thing with that is that it will spawn directly underneath the player and not on these little fire points. So we can just trash this block. And now we can say go to 0, 0. But we can go to the operators tab, the green tab, and add 2 pluses on the X and the Y. So then what we're going to do, we are going to go to the sensing tab, and we want to grab this background hashtag of stage. So we just want to drag that into the first slot, and instead of stage, we want to say player, and instead of backdrop number, we just want to say X position. So then we can just duplicate this, put it into the Y position's first slot, change X position to Y position. So now this is basically saying it will still go to the player, but now we can add some coordinates. So now we can control where this is spawned on the player. So I already have some preset value for this, but if you don't, it's really just guess and check. There's really no way of determining where it'll be beforehand. So my values are going to be 30 and -15. So this one will spawn right there. And like I said, this is just a placeholder. In their real model of the spacecraft, it will be realistically shooting out of the gun. Okay, now we need it to move forward. In this case, up, because it's a 2D game. Okay, so we have to do this like we did with the player. So we can just say change X, or in our case Y, because Y is up and down. So we can just say forever change Y, but I'll just say 20 for the speed. Now we can actually shoot. But notice how the bullets don't disappear when they get to the top. That's because Scratch has a screen limit where you can't get past anything on screen. And that's kind of bad. So, what we need to do, we do not want this forever loop. We want to go to the control tab, the orange tab, the later orange tab that says control under it. And we just want to grab a repeat until block. Then in this block, we only put the change Y by 20. And then at the end of the repeat until block, we can put delete clone, so that just deletes that copy. And we want to say repeat until the Y position. So we can go to the motion tab, grab a Y position block at the bottom. Then go to the operators tab and get a greater than sign. So we just want to say if Y position is greater than 175 then it will delete the clone. So now if we play this, when you shoot, they will not stay at the top, they will just be deleted. Okay, so now, as the last part of the video, we can add the bullet on the other side. So how we can do that, and just make it easier on ourselves, we can just right click on the bullet sprite and just press duplicate. We can just rename this to bullet 02, and excuse me, and we can make this go to a different position. So we can just say exposition of player plus -30 instead of 30. But here's the thing, it will still not be cloned. So what we need to do, we need to go to the player sprite and see we have only created a clone of bullet 01, not bullet 02 as well. So what we want to do, we also want to create a clone of bullet 02. And now it is double shooting. There we go. It's beautiful. Okay, so next time, in our next video, we will be making stars and asteroids coming at us. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I certainly have. So yeah, bye guys, and I hope you have enjoyed. If you have liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and ring the bell icon next to the subscription button, so that you will get my content when it comes out. Okay, bye guys, see you in part 3. Bye.